My wife wanted me to be the bad guy, so she started flirting openly, staying out late, and picking fights over nothing. Instead of reacting, I waited. One night, she came home smiling and said, "I think we should separate." I nodded, handed her a manila envelope, and said, "Already prepared." Her face dropped as she opened it. Inside was evidence of her affair. And a divorce that left her with nothing. I, 42 male, have been married to my wife Sarah, 39 female, for 15 years. We met in college at a mutual friend's party in Evanston, just outside Chicago. She was the kind of person who lit up a room. Everyone loved her, and honestly, so did I. I worked in IT, she worked in marketing. We had a modest life in a condo on the north side, didn't have kids, but we had a dog named Murphy, and for a long time, that was enough. Or so I thought. It started about a year ago. Things at home began to feel off. Not dramatic at first. She was just colder. Not mean or cruel, just distant. Conversations got shorter. Date nights got rare. She started working later. A lot later. And when she wasn't working late, she was out with her team, happy hours, girls' nights, marketing mixers, whatever. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Work was always demanding for her, especially with the new manager she kept complaining about. I didn't push. I've never been the jealous type. I figured she needed space, so I gave it to her. But then came the fights. And they weren't even about real things. It would be stuff like me forgetting to buy oat milk or leaving a sock on the floor. She'd snap. Yell sometimes. Say things that didn't feel like they came from her. One time she told me I was dragging her down. That one stung. Another time, she accused me of not being ambitious enough, that I was comfortable being average. I'm not rich, but I've worked hard. Paid off our mortgage early, never had debt, took care of things at home. I didn't understand where this was coming from. That's when I started noticing other things. She'd be texting and laughing to herself, then turn her phone face down when I walked in. She changed her passcode. Took her phone to the bathroom. Started wearing perfume on random weekday mornings when we weren't even seeing anyone. She started dressing up more for errands. I confronted her once about the phone. Just casually said, "You've been on your phone a lot lately." She snapped back that I was being controlling and paranoid. Because that's when it clicked, she wanted me to snap. She wanted me to blow up, act insecure, demand answers, scream maybe. Then she could say the marriage fell apart because I was toxic or controlling or whatever. So I flipped the script. I acted normal. Nicer, even. I started being more thoughtful. Brought her coffee in bed. Asked about her day. I did the dishes more often. I let her feel like she was pulling away, and I was just some clueless idiot trying to win her back. But quietly, I was watching everything. I started tracking things, not in a creepy stalker way, but just taking notes. When she said she was working late, I'd log the time she came home. What she wore. Whether she smelled like alcohol or perfume. I kept receipts. Photos. I started making backups of her shared iCloud album just in case she slipped. Then one day, I found it. I was on our laptop looking for an old tax file, and I noticed she hadn't logged out of her messages. Rookie move. There were texts from a contact saved as Melissa G. Work. But the tone? It was all wrong. I miss you. Last night was amazing. I wish I could wake up next to you. Yeah. Melissa wasn't Melissa. It was Brad. Same guy from the party. The messages weren't overly sexual, but they didn't need to be. I screenshotted every single one. Dates, times, pet names, jokes. I didn't say a word to her. I saved them all on a flash drive and printed out copies. I also checked our joint credit card and noticed several Uber rides to and from the same hotel near the Loop. Dinners at restaurants we never went to together. I printed that, too. One Thursday night, she came home around 11:30. She was dressed up, a little tipsy, and she looked almost relieved. Like she'd finally made a decision. She put her purse down, walked over to the kitchen where I was sitting, and said, "I think we should separate." Just like that. Calm. Cold. No emotion. I nodded. Got up. Walked over to the drawer and handed her the manila envelope I'd prepped 2 days earlier. She looked confused. Then she opened it. First thing she pulled out were the printouts. Texts. Receipts. Hotel bookings. She didn't say a word. Just stared. Then the divorce papers. She looked up at me, eyes wide. You knew? I just nodded. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something, maybe deny it, maybe cry, maybe apologize. I don't know. But I didn't say anything else. And that's where I'll leave it for now. If people are interested, I'll update with what happened next. There's still a lot to unpack. But for now, let's just say, it feels strange when the person you do anything for turns out to be someone you don't even recognize anymore. I looked at her, really looked at her. She wasn't the same woman I married. The sparkle in her eye was still there, but now it was edged with guilt, panic. I needed to be sure, I said. And I needed to protect myself. She turned away. Rubbed her face like she was trying to wipe the whole night off of it. It's not what you think, she said, and I actually laughed. Out loud. Really? I asked. Because what I think is that you lied. You cheated. You used our money to sneak around with a guy you told me you barely knew. She didn't respond. Just stared at the floor. I waited, but she didn't say more. And then she went upstairs. That night, I slept on the couch. I didn't even try to sleep, honestly. Just laid there with Murphy curled at my feet, thinking about every moment in the past year that didn't make sense, now suddenly did. The next morning was strange. She came downstairs like nothing happened. Made coffee. Didn't say a word about the envelope. She was calm. Too calm. Something in my gut told me she was planning something. Later that day, I got a call from my lawyer. Did you tell her you were filing? He asked. Yeah. Gave her the papers last night. He sighed. Well, she just retained counsel. So yeah. Now it was war. I thought it would be a clean break. We had no kids. No big messy shared businesses. But Sarah? She decided she wanted to fight. She filed a response claiming that I had been emotionally abusive and financially controlling. That I'd alienated her, ignored her needs, and that her friendship with Brad only started because she was lonely and neglected. When my lawyer read me her statement, I thought he was joking. I had to ask him to read it twice. She was trying to paint me as the villain. The kicker? She claimed she didn't cheat. She said the texts were flirtatious but harmless. That the hotel stays were for personal time and self-care. I was stunned. All those months of playing it cool, of not reacting, not yelling, not giving her the crazy jealous husband storyline she wanted, and now she was inventing it. The real twist came 2 weeks later. Brad's wife emailed me. I didn't even know he was married. Turns out, she had found some of the same messages. But here's the kicker, Brad had told his wife that Sarah was just a colleague going through a rough patch, and he was helping her get through her divorce. Divorce? We weren't even divorced yet when he said that. Brad had told his wife that I was some angry alcoholic husband who hit Sarah. That she was escaping abuse. That's why Brad's wife believed it, until she saw my name on some of the credit card receipts. We had the same bank. We met for coffee at a spot in Wicker Park. She brought her screenshots, I brought mine. It was worse than I thought. They weren't just sleeping together. They had been planning a future. Trips. Apartments. He told her he loved her. Told her she was meant to be free. They had a whole secret plan. But the best part? He wasn't divorcing his wife. He was lying to both of us. When I got home that night, Sarah was already in bed. I stood in the doorway and said, Brad's wife says hi. She sat up like she'd seen a ghost. I told her everything. That I knew he was playing her. That he told his wife I was some abusive monster and she was a victim. That the whole thing was a game for him. That's when the tears came. Ugly, real, painful tears. But I didn't comfort her. I just stood there. Let her sit in it. She begged me not to move forward with the divorce. She said she was confused. That she made mistakes. That she was manipulated. That she still loved me. I didn't answer. I told her we'd talk when I was ready. Truth is, I wasn't sure what I wanted anymore. The betrayal was real, but so was the history. And now I was learning that not only was she a cheater, she was being cheated on, too. The next week, Sarah moved into the guest room. She was still trying to talk to me, still texting me during the day. Some messages were sad, some angry, some weirdly flirty, like she didn't know which role to play anymore. Then she asked me to go to couples therapy. I said no. But I wasn't done yet. Because there was still one more thing I hadn't told her. And when I did, everything changed again. After the night I told Sarah about Brad's wife, the house got real quiet. Days passed. She tiptoed around like a ghost, waiting for me to explode or break down. I didn't either. I went to work. Took Murphy on longer walks. Ate dinner alone. She tried to join me once, and I told her I wasn't ready. She nodded, like she understood, but I could see it was eating her alive. The woman who tried to play me was now trying to win me back. But I still hadn't told her everything. Here's where the real twist comes in. A few months back, before everything blew up, I found a strange charge on our joint card. It was a $600 withdrawal from an ATM near Midway Airport. We weren't traveling. No one we knew lived near there. It stuck out. When I asked her about it casually, she said it was for a last-minute work expense she needed cash for. I let it go at the time, but I saved the receipt. After all the Brad stuff came out, I started digging deeper. I went through our past 6 months of statements again, this time with sharper eyes. That's when I noticed something else, a series of charges from a store in Joliet. Now, unless Sarah was living a secret life as a trucker, there was no reason she should be shopping out there. So I drove out. It was a tiny strip mall. One of the stores was a boutique baby clothing shop. That's when my stomach dropped. No. No way. I walked in, just to confirm, and saw a framed photo near the register, Brad. Holding a baby. Standing next to a woman who wasn't Sarah. I stood there frozen. The cashier asked if I needed help, and I said no. I walked back to my car and sat there for what felt like an hour. Brad had a baby. Not just a baby. A family. And Sarah had to know. Or maybe she didn't? I went home. Didn't say anything to her yet. I needed more. So I messaged Brad's wife again. I told her what I saw. She was quiet for a bit, then typed, "That's his cousin." But yeah, the baby is his. Not mine. Turns out, Brad had a third woman. Sarah thought she was the side chick to a married man. But she wasn't even that. She was the side chick to the side chick. Brad had been juggling 3 women, 2 cities, and a baby. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. That night, I walked into the guest room where she was staying. She looked up like she was ready for more crying or begging. Instead, I tossed her a printed photo. Brad. Baby. Cousin's boutique. Joliet. She stared at it. Eyes wide. "You didn't know, did you?" I asked. She shook her head slowly. "I swear to God, David, I didn't." I believed her. For the first time in months, I actually believed her. Her face wasn't acting anymore. She looked betrayed. Not just by me, by him. She buried her face in her hands and sobbed. He told me he was divorced. He told me I was the only one. He said he wanted to move in with me after we ended. I didn't interrupt. She kept going. He said you were cold. That you never touched me. That I deserved passion. That I should stop settling for safe. I didn't know he had a kid. I didn't know about any of it. It was pathetic. Sad. Angry. Messy. But I stayed quiet. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I'm pregnant." I blinked. My chest felt hollow. I didn't say a word. My face didn't move. "It's yours," she said, voice shaking. "I found out a few days ago. I was going to tell you, but then all this, I couldn't breathe." I didn't want to believe her. But the timeline made sense. She hadn't been with Brad in over a month, not since the night she told me she wanted to separate. Still, I asked, "You sure it's mine?" "Yes," she whispered. "We hadn't, me and Brad, it was never," I nodded slowly. But inside? Everything was spinning. Now what? We were halfway through a divorce. She was carrying my child. She'd betrayed me. Lied to me. Tried to paint me as the villain. Tried to make me blow up so she could walk away clean. Then the man she risked everything for turned out to be a liar with a baby and a side family. And now, this. What do you even do with that? She looked at me, eyes swollen. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I swear, David, I didn't know about the baby. And I didn't plan for this. I wasn't trying to trap you. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I stood up. Took a deep breath. Then I walked out of the room. And I haven't talked to her since. But I made a doctor's appointment. For a paternity test. And that's where we are now. So yeah. She wanted me to be the bad guy. But the truth? The truth made her look in the mirror and see the villain staring back. And the final act? Still coming. The results came back 10 days later. I was sitting in my car outside the clinic, hands sweating, just staring at the envelope like it might catch fire if I opened it. I already knew what I wanted the answer to be, and I hated myself for it. I hoped it wasn't mine. Not because I didn't want a kid. But because I didn't want to be tied to her. Not after everything. Still, I owed it to the truth. So I opened it. Positive. 99.9% match. The baby was mine. I drove home on autopilot. No music, just the sound of the wind outside. When I got in, Sarah was in the kitchen again, that same haunted look on her face. She hadn't been sleeping. Her eyes were dark, her face puffy. She looked like someone barely holding it together. I know, she said the second I walked in. I tossed the envelope on the counter. Then you know what that means. She nodded. We need to talk. I wanted to scream. But instead, I sat down. Calm, cold. The anger had burned off. Now it was just ashes. She started. I know I broke something I can't fix. But I can't let it end like this without saying what I should have said a long time ago. I didn't stop her. I was unhappy. Not because of you, but because of me. I was bored, and instead of facing it, I looked for a way to run. I thought if I made you the bad guy, I could leave without guilt. But when you didn't fight, when you didn't get angry, it made me see what I really was. Her voice cracked. A coward. A liar. And when I thought Brad cared about me, I believed it because I needed someone to tell me I wasn't horrible. I needed to feel wanted again. My jaw clenched. You didn't need to destroy me to do that. I know, she said, tears falling now. I know. And the worst part? You didn't. I did it to myself. I lost you before I even realized you were slipping through my fingers. We sat there. In silence. Two people with 15 years of shared memories crumbling between them. And then the doorbell rang. It was Mike, my best friend. He looked between us and raised an eyebrow. I heard from Jenny that you've been avoiding everyone. Figured I'd check if you were still alive. Sarah wiped her face quickly, tried to stand up straight. Mike just stared at her. You know, we all saw it, he said to her flatly. Long before he did. Mike, I started. No, man. She needs to hear it. We saw how she changed. The way she looked through you like you were wallpaper. How she flirted with Brad in front of everyone at Mark's birthday party. Like you didn't matter. And you still gave her the benefit of the doubt. Sarah didn't argue. She looked down. Ashamed. Mike turned to me. You're a better man than most. But don't let guilt talk you into fixing what she broke. Then he left. The silence he left behind was worse than before. Sarah whispered, I deserve that. You deserve the truth, I said. And so do I. Then I told her what I'd been holding back. I almost cheated. Her head snapped up. There was someone at work. Months ago. We were close. We talked a lot. She asked me to grab drinks one night, and I almost said yes. I was lonely. I was angry. But I didn't. She looked stunned. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I had the same cracks. I just didn't step through them. I chose us. Even when it was falling apart. She broke down. I wish I had been stronger. I didn't say anything. Because it didn't matter anymore. In the weeks that followed, we agreed on the divorce terms. I wouldn't contest custody once the baby was born. I'd be involved, financially, emotionally, but we wouldn't live together. Not now. Maybe not ever. Her belly started to show. Some days, I hated that it made me feel something. Other days, I'd catch myself wondering if I'd be there in the delivery room. If I'd hold our kid and feel whole again. But for now, I stayed in the guest room. I couldn't look at her without seeing what we used to be, and what we weren't anymore. She apologized a lot. Too much, really. Like she was trying to scrub the guilt off with words. But there are some stains that don't come out. Friends picked sides. Some cut her off completely. Others stayed neutral. My mom told me, you've always been the one holding everyone together. Maybe it's time you let go. And I think she was right. It's been 6 months now. The papers are finalized. We still talk, but only about the baby. She's due in a few weeks. I'll be there when it happens. I owe that much to my kid. Not to her. Do I still love her? Sometimes I think I do. Other times, I know I don't. I'm grieving someone who still breathes. And that's the weirdest kind of grief there is. But I'm healing. Slowly. One truth at a time. Would I ever take her back? No. But I'll always remember what we had before it broke. And now? Now I'm learning to build something new. Maybe not with someone else yet. But definitely, with myself.